The radar blared with an urgent warning across the command deck of the Imperial cruiser Vernax. Captain Zelthor slammed his hand down on the console, eyes widening as he stared at the blinking red dot. This is impossible, he muttered. The computer's calm voice had no emotion, but the warning said it all. Unknown human ship incoming. Approach vector direct to capital. Zelthor's crew froze, all of them sensing the tension in the air. Every Imperial officer knew humans were not supposed to travel this far, not at the speed and stealth the humans claimed. They were considered primitive, weak, nothing compared to the Empire's advanced technology. And yet, here it was, a lone ship, defying all predictions, coming straight toward the Empire's heart. The communications officer, Lieutenant Karen, tapped her controls nervously. Captain, it's not showing a signature. It's almost like it's invisible to our scans. Invisible? Zelthor barked, the disbelief in his voice cracking. Our sensors are perfect. There is no way. He stopped, realizing he sounded like a frightened child. Every part of the crew could feel it. This was no ordinary ship. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers away, the human ship drifted silently through the void. Its hull was battered but functional, a relic of old Earth engineering upgraded with strange, unpredictable technology. Inside, Commander Alara Vance sat in the captain's chair, staring at the holographic star map. Approaching the Imperial capital, she said quietly. Her crew, humans of all shapes and skills, moved with calm precision. Every one of them trusted her instinct. We need to be careful. The Empire doesn't see humans as equals. They see us as mistakes. Her second-in-command, a young woman named Juno, frowned. Commander, sensors show a cruiser ahead, massive power signature. They haven't detected us. Yet Ilara smiled faintly. Then let's make sure it stays that way. Back on the Vernax, panic had begun to spread. The ship's weapons officers readied the plasma cannons, but the thought of firing on something they couldn't even identify made them hesitate. What if it's a trap? One muttered. A human ship can't do this. Can it? Zelthor clenched his fists. It can, if it's human. A sudden jolt ran through the cruiser as the unknown ship appeared on their main screen. A silhouette, small, almost fragile-looking, cut through space like a predator. It moved with precision, a silent predator against the bulk of the Empire's might. The crew whispered among themselves, fear rising like a tide. Alara's voice came over the comms, calm but firm, a shock to the Imperial ears. Imperial Cruiser Vernax, this is Human Command Ship Artemis. You are trespassing in human-patrolled space. Leave immediately or you will be destroyed. The crew froze. Human? They had heard stories, seen propaganda, but never expected humans to actually challenge the Empire, especially like this. Zelthor's fingers hovered over the control panel. Identify yourselves. What is the meaning of this intrusion? Ilara leaned forward, her eyes glinting. We are the first of many, and this is your first warning. For a moment, silence filled the bridge. Then the cruiser's weapon systems went haywire, unable to lock on. The humans had technology that defied comprehension. It was small, it was simple, but it was perfect. The Empire had never faced anything like it. The radar showed the human ship moving closer, but it did so without the usual noise of engines or energy signatures. Every Imperial officer felt it in their gut. They were being watched, outsmarted, and outmatched. What do we do, Captain? Lieutenant Karen asked, voice trembling. Zelthor's eyes narrowed, a storm brewing behind them. We fight. We always fight. Before they could react, the human ship fired a pulse, not a weapon in the usual sense, but a wave of energy that disabled their shields instantly. The Vernax shuddered violently as alarms blared. The crew screamed and scrambled to regain control, but the pulse had already done its work. Ilara watched silently, knowing the Empire would learn a lesson today. Not through brute force, but through cunning, through precision, through human ingenuity that no one had ever expected. The captain of the Imperial cruiser had no idea what hit him next. The humans weren't just attacking, they were teaching, testing, and proving. And the Empire would soon realize that these primitive humans were nothing short of a nightmare. As the Artemis moved deeper into Imperial space, a silent promise echoed in the hearts of those aboard. The Empire had underestimated humans, and that mistake would be their undoing. Zelthor's final words before the view screen went dark were a whisper of dread. Impossible. How can a human ship do all this? And in the silence of space, the humans continued their steady advance, every movement deliberate, every strategy flawless. The Empire had never faced anything like this, and they would never be the same again. The Artemis glided silently through space, its sleek hull reflecting the faint glow of distant stars. Commander Alara Vance watched the Imperial cruiser drift helplessly in the distance, its systems crippled but its crew still alive. She allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Humans were underestimated once again, but there was no time to linger. "Status report," Alara commanded. Juno's fingers danced across the console. All systems stable. The Imperial cruiser is completely disabled, but it's broadcasting a distress signal. "They're calling for reinforcements," Alara nodded. "Let them. We don't have time for a full battle yet. Our mission is deeper in Imperial space. We strike where they least expect." On the Vernax, Captain Zelthor struggled to regain control. His bridge was chaotic. Alarms blared and officers shouted over each other. His pride had been shattered. How could a human ship disable a cruiser of this size and strength so easily? He paced back and forth, fury and fear battling inside him. "Prepare the fleet," he ordered, his voice tight with anger. "They may have disabled us, but the Empire will not fall to a single human vessel." Lieutenant Karen hesitated. "Captain, we still don't know their capabilities. They are unlike anything we've seen before." Zelthor stopped and looked at her, eyes burning. "That may be true, but the Empire adapts. We will show them the consequences of underestimating us." Meanwhile, aboard the Artemis, Alara studied the star map carefully. The Empire's reinforcements would arrive soon, but she had a plan. Humans were weaker in numbers, but they were faster, smarter, and more unpredictable. That was always their advantage. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," she said. "They'll send more ships, but they won't anticipate what we're about to do." Her crew worked in perfect unison, plotting a route that would take them through asteroid fields and planetary rings, where the Empire's larger ships would struggle to follow. Every twist of the path was deliberate, designed to confuse and outsmart their pursuers. Back on the Vernax, Zelthor watched the human ship's movements on the view screen. "They're dancing around us," he muttered, disbelief in his tone. The humans moved with fluidity, almost as if they could predict his every command before he made it. One of the younger officers whispered, "Captain, they're playing with us. Like it's a game." Zelthor's face darkened. "It is no game, it is war, and we will win." Alara's voice came over the comms again, calm and firm. "Imperial forces, you will find us difficult to catch. But this is not an attack yet. Consider this a lesson. Humans are not to be underestimated." Panic spread among the Imperial ranks. Many officers had never faced humans up close, and now they realized the stories of human ingenuity were not myths. They were truth. Some whispered about humans as warriors, others as engineers capable of bending reality with their machines. Zelthor slammed his fist on the console. "Focus, they are trying to escape, yes, but we will not let them go. Fire the disruptors. Launch intercept drones." The bridge erupted in controlled chaos as the Empire's technology roared to life. Missiles streaked through space. Drones swarmed toward the Artemis and energy beams lit the void. But the human ship moved like water, slipping through defenses with uncanny precision. Every maneuver was calculated, every dodge perfect. "Commander," Juno said, tension in her voice. "They're coordinating with speed we've never seen before. It's almost like they know our next move." Alara smiled faintly. "Humans are always unpredictable. That is why the Empire fears us." The chase continued for hours, each moment building tension. Imperial ships scrambled, their confidence shaken by the humans' superior tactics. Yet Zelthor refused to surrender. Every fiber of his being demanded retaliation, revenge. He would not let a single human vessel humiliate the Empire. Suddenly, alarms blared across the Artemis. "Incoming fleet!" Multiple cruisers detected, closing in fast. Alara's eyes narrowed. "Good. The fun begins." The asteroid field ahead offered perfect cover. She calculated every angle, every possibility. "Juno, prepare the decoys. Let them come closer. The closer they are, the better our advantage." On the Vernax, Zelthor's eyes widened as dozens of Imperial cruisers appeared on the sensors. "Finally," he said, a grim satisfaction in his tone. "We corner them. They cannot escape now." But humans never played by the rules. The decoys activated. Holographic images of ships moving in unpredictable patterns. The Imperial fleet fired blindly. energy beams cutting through empty space. The real Artemis slipped past undetected, moving closer to the heart of Imperial space. "Too easy," Juno whispered, impressed. Ilara's voice echoed through the command deck. "Remember this moment." The Empire thought themselves invincible. They thought humans were weak. They were wrong. Zeltor's frustration boiled over. They can't keep dodging forever. They will make a mistake. Ilara leaned back, her eyes scanning the stars. Perhaps. But humans have survived for millennia, by turning mistakes into opportunities. This is just the beginning. The Imperial fleet regrouped, scanning for the human ship, but the Artemis had vanished into the shadows of space, leaving only a trail of confusion and fear. For the first time, the Empire's officers questioned their supremacy. And in the cold silence of the cosmos, humans moved forward, one calculated step at a time. The Empire had been warned. The nightmare had only begun. The Artemis slipped through the dark void, shadows of distant planets hiding it from Imperial sensors. Commander Ilara Vance leaned forward, studying the holographic map projected in front of her. The Empire's fleet was regrouping, their anger and fear visible even in the cold mechanical glow of their ship's control panels. "We're getting closer to the Imperial core," Ilara said, "but it won't be easy. Their defenses are stronger than anything we've faced." Juno's voice was quiet, almost nervous. "Commander, they'll have orbital cannons, automated defenses. They've never let a single ship reach the core before." Ilara's lips curved into a small smile. "Exactly. That's why we'll go where no one expects. Humans survive by turning impossibilities into possibilities." Far across the void, Captain Zelthor paced the bridge of the Vernax. His crew had regrouped, battered but determined. The sight of the humans' disappearing ship gnawed at his pride. He had trained his officers to never underestimate an enemy. Yet these humans had defied all logic, all predictions. "Captain," Lieutenant Karen said cautiously, "they're heading straight for the core. They must have a plan. But we don't know it." Zelthor's fist clenched. "Then we make them regret it. Activate the core's defense grid. Fire on anything approaching. I want those humans stopped before they reach the capital." The fleet surged forward, hundreds of ships in formation, energy shields glowing, weapons primed. Imperial pride and fury combined into a deadly force, and yet, the humans moved faster than their sensors could track. Every movement of the Artemis was deliberate, calculated almost like a dance through a storm of lasers and plasma. Ilara watched the fleet approach, her crew tense but focused. "Prepare the decoys," she instructed. "We'll split their attention and slip through." Small drones shot from the human ship, tiny replicas of the Artemis that emitted false energy signatures. The Imperial fleet fired, energy beams tearing through the void, but the decoys vanished or changed course at the last second. The real Artemis moved closer, unnoticed amidst the chaos. On the Vernax, Zelthor slammed his fist against the console. "Impossible. They're right under our sensors," a young officer stammered. "Captain, it's like they know exactly where we are." "How?" Zelthor's jaw tightened. "Humans are unpredictable. That's their strength. Adapt and don't underestimate them again." The Artemis finally reached the outer defenses of the Imperial core, a massive fortress floating in the void, armed with countless turrets, shield generators, and automated drones. Even humans approaching this far had never survived. But Ilara's crew didn't falter. "Scan the core's defense patterns," she ordered. "We need their rhythm. Every shield, every turret has a cycle. Humans exploit patterns." Juno worked quickly. "Commander, if we time it perfectly, we can slip through the first wave of defenses undetected. After that, it's all skill and luck," Ilara nodded. "Then we trust both. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Activate stealth mode." The Artemis disappeared from all but the closest sensors, a ghost ship threading its way through the deadly lattice of turrets and drones. Every heartbeat on the ship was tense. A single misstep would mean annihilation. Inside the core, Imperial officers watched in disbelief. "Captain Zelthor, the humans are inside our outer perimeter." "How?" Zelthor gritted his teeth. "They've broken all rules of combat. They're not just strong, they're clever. And clever is dangerous." Ilara's voice cut through the tension, calm but filled with authority. "Imperial Command, this is your final warning. Step aside. Humans do not seek war yet. But we will not be stopped." Zelthor's eyes blazed with fury. "Then end them," he shouted. The Artemis moved with precision, dodging plasma bursts, weaving between turrets and slipping past detection grids. Every crew member knew their role perfectly. There was no room for hesitation. Humans were underestimated because they were small, unpredictable, and adaptable. That unpredictability was now their ultimate weapon. Suddenly, a massive pulse of energy shot toward the Artemis, a test from the core itself. The human ship shook violently, alarms blaring, but it didn't falter. Ilara's crew had anticipated this. She whispered, "Now." Juno activated the countermeasure, releasing a field that temporarily absorbed the energy pulse, redirecting it harmlessly into space. The Artemis surged forward, past the outer defenses into the shadowed corridors of the core. Inside the fortress, Imperial officers could hardly believe what they were witnessing. "Captain, the humans." "They're inside!" one cried. Zelthor's knuckles whitened around the console. "Impossible. They shouldn't be able to survive this long. They shouldn't even be here." Ilara's eyes scanned the core's interior map. "Stay alert. The real challenge is just ahead. Every step will be more dangerous. But humans always find a way." The Artemis moved silently, deadly, and unstoppable. For every trap the Empire had laid, the humans had a counter. For every turret, there was a blind spot. For every obstacle, there was ingenuity. Zelthor realized with growing horror that this was more than an intrusion. This was a statement. Humans were not merely surviving. They were rewriting the rules of the battlefield. And somewhere deep in the heart of the Imperial core, the humans' plan was taking shape. A single strike, precise and devastating, could change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Ilara looked at her crew, a small but determined team. "We've made it this far," she said. "Nothing can stop us now. Not the Empire, not their fleets, not their weapons. Humans always rise." The silence of space stretched around them, tense and electric as the Artemis prepared to deliver the next blow. The Empire had been warned. The nightmare was no longer coming, it was here. The Artemis glided silently through the shadowed corridors of the Imperial core, its hull barely visible against the dark metal walls. Commander Ilara Vance's eyes were sharp, scanning every sensor and map. The core was massive, a fortress designed to repel any invader. Yet here she was, inside, with a crew that had trained for this moment their entire lives. "Incoming patrols," Juno whispered, pointing to blinking red indicators. "Small squads, but they're fast. They'll spot us if we're not careful." Ilara nodded. "Divide and distract. We take the inner junctions quietly. Remember, no unnecessary alarms. The Empire underestimates humans. Let's keep it that way." The first patrol rounded a corner, armored Imperial soldiers scanning their path. The Artemis released a microdrone, tiny and silent. It zipped forward, emitting a light pulse that temporarily blinded the sensors on the patrol suits. Humans slipped past unseen, as if they were ghosts. Captain Zelthor, back on the bridge of the Vernax, felt a pit of dread growing in his stomach. "Report," he demanded. "Sir, the humans are inside the core," one officer stammered. "They bypassed our outer defenses, and they're moving with purpose." "We can't predict their next move." Zelthor's fist clenched. "Impossible. No one survives this deep inside without being detected. Prepare countermeasures. Lock down all intersections. Do not let them reach the central hub." But humans were not so easily stopped. Ilara guided her crew through the twisting corridors, carefully avoiding automated turrets and patrols. Every movement was precise, every decision calculated. The core was designed for brute force defense, but humans thrived where brute force failed. "Commander," Juno said, "the central hub is heavily guarded. Hundreds of troops, advanced turrets, and automated defenses. If we go in directly, we're done for." Ilara's eyes glimmered. "We won't go in directly. We'll force them to fight their own rules. Set the charge. When we reach the hub, we make them pay for every underestimation." The crew prepared small, compact devices, human technology that confused and disabled Imperial systems. They were simple yet effective, proof that humans did not need the largest weapons to win battles. Meanwhile, Zelthor activated the core's central alert. "Lock down all exits. Fire on any movement. The humans will die here." The alarms echoed through the massive chambers, but the Artemis crew moved like shadows. They reached the outer perimeter of the central hub. Juno hacked a nearby terminal, sending false signals and creating holographic decoys of their ship. Imperial soldiers fired at phantoms, wasting energy and ammunition, while the real humans slipped through unnoticed. Ilara's voice was calm but firm. Almost there. Stay focused. Precision, not force. Suddenly, a squad of heavily armed soldiers rounded the corner, weapons raised. Humans reacted instantly. Using a combination of EMP grenades and sound disruptors, they incapacitated the soldiers without killing them. Silence returned to the corridor, the squad frozen in place, utterly confused. Zelthor slammed his hand on the console. "Contain them! Do not let them reach the hub. They must die!" Back in the core, Ilara's team reached the final barrier before the central control room. Turrets swiveled, targeting lasers cut through the air. The humans paused, calculating, then released a device that interfered with the targeting system, freezing the turrets for precious seconds. They slipped through and finally reached the control room, where the Empire's most advanced officers waited, confident that no single ship could breach this far. Their surprise was total. Ilara stepped forward. "We warned you. Humans are not weak. Humans adapt. Humans win where you fail." Chaos erupted. Imperial officers tried to activate defenses manually, but the humans had already infiltrated their systems. Juno worked at the console, hacking into the core's mainframe, turning the Empire's own security against them. Zelthor's voice came over the intercom, fury and disbelief in every word. "Impossible! No ship, no crew. No human could—" Ilara cut him off. "We are not impossible. We are human, and we've only begun." Suddenly, the core's lights flickered as the human devices took control. Turrets deactivated, doors locked down, and alarms went silent. The humans had turned the Empire's fortress into a cage, one where they alone held the keys. Zelthor's face went pale. They've done the impossible. Inside the core. Ilara looked at her crew, proud but focused. "This is just the beginning. The Empire underestimates humans at its own peril. Let this be a lesson they never forget." The silence after the chaos was heavy, almost tangible. Humans had taken control of the core, not with brute force, not with overwhelming numbers, but with cunning, precision, and intelligence. Outside, the Empire's fleet waited, unaware that the heart of their power had already been compromised. And inside, humans prepared the next phase of their plan, one that would shake the galaxy to its very foundation. Ilara's final words echoed in the control room. They thought they were untouchable. They were wrong. Humans always rise, and the Empire's worst nightmare has only begun. The Imperial core, once a fortress of fear and power, now lay under silent human control. Commander Ilara Vance and her crew had turned the Empire's defenses against them, but she knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would not accept defeat quietly. They had secrets, weapons, and strategies that humans could not yet imagine. Juno scanned the core's communications. "Commander, there's movement in the outer fleet. They're deploying something massive, not standard cruisers. Whatever it is, it's faster than anything we've seen before." Ilara's eyes narrowed. "Secret weapons. The Empire always hides its trump cards. Let them come. Humans are ready for the impossible." Thousands of kilometers away, Captain Zelthor's face was pale, eyes blazing with anger. "They've breached the core," he muttered, voice trembling. "And now, we bring out the Empire's ultimate weapon." The massive object emerged from a hidden bay in the Imperial fleet, a colossal warship unlike any other. Its hull was layered with unknown alloys, and strange energy arcs pulsed across its surface. Sensors could barely penetrate its shields. The crew of the Vernax watched in awe and fear. "This is the Obsidian Titan," Zelthor said, almost in disbelief. "It has never been deployed. Its power, unimaginable. Fire at will when ready." Back inside the core, Ilara watched the readings. The energy signature alone was terrifying, enough to destroy multiple fleets at once. She turned to Juno. "They think a single weapon can stop humans? Let's see if they know who they're dealing with." Juno nodded. "Commander, if they activate it fully, it could destroy the entire sector. We need a plan, and fast." Ilara studied the core's internal systems. The humans had control of the inner defenses, but the Obsidian Titan would strike from outside. A frontal assault was suicide. She tapped her comms. "Prepare the drones. We're going to turn their own weapons against them." The Artemis released hundreds of small, nearly invisible drones. Each one carried a tiny EMP pulse, programmed to latch onto the Titan's surface and disrupt its systems. The drones darted like swarms of insects, invisible to the massive warship. Zelthor barked orders. Scan for intruders. Target every anomaly. The humans cannot hide from the Titan, but humans were masters of unpredictability. The drones avoided detection, crawling across the Titan's hull, sending pulses that flickered shields and scrambled targeting systems. The Empire's ultimate weapon struggled to maintain stability, its operators frantic. Alara's voice cut through the tense hum of the Artemis. Now, Juno! Redirect their fire. Juno's fingers flew over the console. She hacked the Titan's systems, using the chaos caused by the drones. The Titan's weapons misfired, energy beams striking empty space, turning the Empire's power back onto itself. Zelthor's face twisted in rage. Impossible! No human could, Ilara interrupted calmly. Humans survive where others fail. Humans adapt when the odds are impossible, and humans win when the Empire thinks it cannot be beaten. Inside the core, alarms blared as the Titan's systems went haywire. Doors locked and unlocked unpredictably. Turrets fired at their own fleet. Imperial officers shouted in confusion, realizing that the humans had not just survived, they had turned the Empire's ultimate weapon against them. Prepare for boarding, Zelthor ordered, desperation in his voice. We cannot lose the Titan to these humans. Alara smiled faintly. Let them come. Humans are ready. The Artemis maneuvered expertly, dodging what little the Titan could aim correctly. Drones continued their assault, EMP bursts disabling crucial systems. The Obsidian Titan, feared across the galaxy, now quivered under human ingenuity. Zelthor's second-in-command shouted, Sir, shields are failing. The Titan is unstable. Activate the self-destruct. Zelthor bellowed, realizing too late that the humans had predicted every move. Ilara's crew barely had time to react, but the Artemis's reinforced hull and evasive tactics allowed them to survive the shockwave of the Titan's destruction. The core's outer defenses, once under threat, were now safe, because humans had turned the Empire's greatest weapon into a disaster for them. Silence fell across the void. The Imperial fleet reeled, broken and humiliated. Zelthor's face was pale, fury and disbelief etched into every line. They survived. How can this be? One ship, one crew? They survived the Obsidian Titan. Ilara's eyes gleamed with quiet triumph. Humans survive. Humans rise. Humans win, and the Empire will never forget today. Her voice carried across the ship. Prepare the next phase. The Empire's fleets are shaken, but they will come again. Let them. Humans always rise to meet the impossible, and we will be ready. Juno glanced at her, awe in her eyes. Commander, we did it. The Titan is gone. Ilara nodded, looking out at the stars. Yes, but this is just the beginning. The Empire thinks it is powerful. The Empire thinks humans are weak. They are about to learn the truth. The Artemis moved deeper into Imperial space, faster, smarter, and invisible in its precision. The humans had survived the impossible, turned the Empire's ultimate weapon against them, and sent a message that could not be ignored. Zelthor slumped in his chair, defeated, but alive. We have underestimated them, and it will cost us everything. The silence of space stretched across the battlefield, tense and full of potential. Humans had shown the galaxy that size, firepower, and technology alone could not defeat ingenuity, courage, and determination. And somewhere far beyond the shattered fleet, Ilara whispered, Humans rise. Always. The void of space stretched endlessly before the Artemis, its hull glinting faintly in the starlight. Commander Ilara Vance sat in the captain's chair, calm but alert. The Empire had been humiliated, its greatest weapon destroyed, yet they were far from defeated. The final battle loomed, the moment to prove once and for all that humans were not just survivors but conquerors of the impossible. Juno tapped the console nervously. Commander, multiple Imperial fleets are converging. They've realized their mistakes. This time they won't hold back. Ilara's eyes narrowed. Good, let them come. Humans thrive in impossible situations. That's why the Empire fears us. Across the galaxy, Captain Zelthor's face was pale, his pride shattered. The loss of the Obsidian Titan and the core's breach had ignited fury across Imperial ranks. All ships converge on the Artemis. Do not let it escape. They've humiliated us long enough. Hundreds of Imperial ships emerged from hyperspace, forming a massive formation designed to trap a single vessel. Energy beams arced across space, shields glowed under pressure, and the vacuum hummed with tension. The Artemis was alone, outnumbered, and seemingly doomed. Alara rose from her chair. "Crew, this is it. Everything we've done has led to this moment. Remember, humans adapt, humans rise. Humans always win." Her crew braced, hands steady on controls, eyes fixed on their captain. Every maneuver, every decision would count. The Imperial fleet advanced, firing volleys of plasma and missiles. The Artemis darted between blasts faster than the sensors could track. Drones released from the ship swarmed into the enemy formation, small and invisible, carrying EMP bursts and disruption pulses. One by one, the Empire's ships faltered as their systems glitched and weapons misfired. Zelthor shouted orders in disbelief. "Target that ship. Focus all firepower. How is it surviving?" Alara's lips curved into a calm, confident smile. "They still do not understand us." As the fleet pressed closer, Alara initiated the final stage of their plan. Using the core's hacked systems, the Artemis triggered a chain reaction in nearby Imperial satellites and defense stations. Energy pulses surged outward, disabling engines, shields, and communications across the entire formation. Ships collided in chaos, firing at each other in confusion. The Empire's overwhelming numbers became a liability. Juno's voice trembled with excitement. "Commander, they're breaking apart. Their formation. It's collapsing." Ilara's eyes shone. "Good. Now we deliver the final message." The Artemis accelerated toward the heart of the remaining Imperial fleet, small and fragile compared to the massive cruisers around it. Yet humans never relied on size or strength. They relied on speed, precision, and strategy. Using a combination of stealth and timing, they bypassed shields and struck critical points in the lead ships, disabling propulsion and weapon systems with surgical accuracy. Zelthor realized too late that the humans were not just surviving, they were dictating the battle. "Impossible! How? One ship, one crew." His voice broke with despair. Alara's final move was simple but devastating. Using a sequence she had prepared months ago, the Artemis hijacked the Empire's automated weapon systems, turning the remaining fleet's fire upon itself. Explosions rippled across space as cruisers and destroyers destroyed one another in a storm of confusion. Silence followed, punctuated only by the distant hum of damaged ships and drifting debris. The Imperial fleet had been shattered, not by overwhelming force but by the intelligence, courage, and unpredictability of humans. The Artemis emerged from the chaos, intact but scarred, its crew exhausted yet victorious. Alara looked at the stars, her eyes reflecting quiet triumph. Humans survive. Humans rise. Humans always win. The Empire has learned a lesson it will never forget. Back on the Vernax, Zelthor slumped in his chair, defeated. The Empire's greatest weapon, fleets and pride, lay in ruins. They were humans, he whispered, awe and fear mingling in his voice. One ship, one crew. And they've done what should have been impossible. Alara turned to her crew. This is the moment humans were meant for. Not domination for greed, but to show the galaxy our strength, our will, and our ingenuity. Today we became legends. Juno smiled, eyes wide. Commander, they'll remember this forever. We showed them what humans are capable of. Alara nodded. Yes, and it's only the beginning. The Empire underestimated humans for centuries. They will never make that mistake again. The Artemis glided through the debris field, a lone beacon of human resilience. Stars stretched endlessly around them, silent witnesses to the audacity and brilliance of one small ship and its determined crew. Humans had faced the impossible, survived and reshaped the galaxy's understanding of strength. And somewhere deep in the shadows of the cosmos, whispers spread through surviving Imperial officers. Humans. They are not weak. They are the nightmare of the Empire. Alara allowed herself a small smile, knowing that humans would continue to rise, adapt, and survive wherever the odds were impossible. She whispered to the crew, her voice steady and certain, "This is humanity. Always rising, always winning, always." The stars stretched on, endless and silent as the Artemis sailed into history, the first of many ships to show the galaxy that humans were no longer to be underestimated.